All right, the day has come where I am now going to replace that starter on there. So I'm not gonna do a step-by-step. There's plenty of those out there, but I'll just take you along my journey on replacing this thing. If you are looking for a detailed step-by-step instruction on how to replace the starter rope, the winding, everything you need, go to Scout Aviation YouTube channel. And once you get in there, scroll down to their playlist and look for their engine maintenance series. They have a lot of videos covering pretty much everything you're gonna do on this motor. So I have used it a bunch just for reference. Now, granted, most of the stuff on there is for the MY19, but it does apply to both. So again, once you get in there, then he gives a very detailed description with the motor off. Very easy to see. Highly recommend it. Okay, this is the new starter. I just ordered the entire assembly because on mine, I know these rubber bushings here, the isolation dampeners, have all deteriorated and they're loose. So I got this whole thing mainly because I just wanted all the parts so that when I take my old one off, I've got spare parts for everything, minus the bushings, of course. But this is the new style. When you get this one, if you have an MY19, it's gonna be different. But this one, these shanks are solid. Where these mount to the frame, there's not a nut on the other side. They just screw right in. So it's one solid screw bolt that goes from here to here. On the older ones, these spacers had the bolts in them, the shafts on both sides. So this one does not. And I haven't had any problems with it. Like I said, I mean, that's a wearable part anyway, that rubber isolation. So I'm not real concerned about it. But when you do get this, you have to be aware that also it comes with a new nut and washer and spacer, because you will need that. Here on the instructions, the nut, as you can see, has to be 7 millimeters from the top down to the shoulder and not the 8 millimeters, which is what is on there if you don't have the new unit. So if you have an MY19, you're gonna have that longer nut, and this starter assembly will not, this is the flywheel here, it will not fit. So mine, on the unit I have here, it is the new style, because you can tell, because right here is where the starter, that bolt, that one solid length bolt comes through. On the older units, there's gonna be a nut right there. On these new ones, there is not. And let me tell you, when I first got this thing, I thought that they forgot to put those nuts on, and I didn't realize they had actually changed the style. Vittorazi did that kind of without a lot of fanfare. They just upgraded it and said, there you go. Got my manual right here handy, just in case it's needed, but mainly I think just for the torque. I have replaced a bunch of these things, just helping other people out. But I think, yeah. So in the manual, you can see it has step-by-step instructions on what you do, how you replace everything for the spring, the little clips, all of it. But even tells you how to wind it. Main thing is it's got the torque specs, and that's what I'm interested in. With all that done, now let's I'll take this harness off here and show you what we're looking at. Okay, so I've just unbuckled the harness and just kind of folded it down. That's all you need to access the starter. Now, let me show you something on the Parajet Maverick, which I love. This is my second one, but they have this support frame here, which is right in front of the starter. You can wiggle it out through the side, but you got to take the spacers off, and it's kind of a puzzle. I helped a friend of mine on his, and it didn't have anything in front of it. So it helps you get to the flywheel, the nut, everything in there. But this bar is just right in the way. Okay, so what's my problem? Right there. Look at that. Not supposed to do that. This side seems it's loose, but it's not terrible. But that side seesaws up here. So that side has gotten. Top one's not too bad either. It's still worn out. They both are. This was kind of a slow process. I noticed it deteriorating last time I was in here working on this area. You can replace those dampeners in there. I'm sure it's like a bearing. I don't know the exact process, but it's like a bearing where it's because it's seated in there. You got to pull it out. So again, I just ordered the entire assembly. So it's just going to be a matter of getting those bolts out and putting a new one in. All right, starter is off. Like I said, it's just those 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just to make sure, I measured my nut here. You measure from the very top of it, flat part up here, down to the shoulder. And you want it to be certainly less than 8, but 7 is what the one they sent. This one is actually, I think it might be just a little bit shorter. I don't know. That's what I got. Almost 7 millimeters. But close enough. Anyways, this is the old one. Yeah, got me a stick shift here. That is not supposed to do that. It is supposed to look like that. Nice and solid. Good bushing on there. Not so good. Yeah, it just wore out. Not any real damage on this thing. I got a mark here, so it was getting something, and it's got some dust. But like I said, it didn't come apart. I've seen horror stories, starters that come apart in that flywheel and they just get chewed up and destroyed. And then you have to replace the flywheel, and man, I totally lucked out. So, all right, let's get this new one on and see what it looks like. All right, new one is on. Only took a second. Got the final torque here. That's what I needed my manual for. Let's see if we can get a click. That's a click. That's a click. That's a click. And that's a click. So the torque, this is an inch-pound torque wrench. For that, 10 Newton meters is 88 inch-pounds. So let me show you something. Okay, if you own and use a torque wrench, there's a thing that you do, especially if it's been sitting for a while, that you want to do that's called exercising the torque wrench. So what you do is you store it all the way down at the lowest setting. But to exercise it, you're going to wind it all the way up to the very top setting and then back down to 0. You want to do that 2 or 3 times, and it's called exercising the torque wrench. I'm sure it frees everything up inside and just make sure that it's operating correctly. Because I had one time that it wouldn't click, and it caused me some grief. And once I realized that you could do that fixed it, and it went right back to working normally. So it even says in most instructions is to do that, but like I said, just start at 0, go all the way to the top a couple of times, and your torque wrench will be ready to go for you. Final step is done. You just saw me get them all torqued in, and I got the rope appropriately routed and tied off with the knot. Now, when they send it, it comes with that about right there. So that, if your pull start is right here, maybe right above your shoulder, but on the Maverick, it's all the way up here. So I left a little extra. Instead of having the handle right there, I left a little extra So the white mark is gonna be down in there a little bit, but about the distance from here to here is what I left, because I think they ship it, just from what I can tell. I did end up having to cut some off this much, but it's perfect. And I pulled the rope out just to see, you know, make sure, because it's wound so that it has one extra spin on it after the rope reaches the maximum. There's still enough in the spring to spin it one more time. That keeps you from destroying that spring. But I pulled the rope out here just to see how far, to make sure if it was ever going to be anything way out here, anything that I would ever be able to do when I'm starting it. And it's not, so I got plenty of room. So let's get the harness back up and go from there. Everything assembled back together. She is ready to fly another day. Again, this wasn't intended to be a step-by-step because there's plenty of videos that do that out there. But I just wanted to show you what my process was for getting this thing replaced. Again, time-wise, it doesn't take long at all. Hardest part is probably that harness and the attaching buckles at the top. So again, if you're looking for good maintenance videos, go to Scout Aviation and look up their engine repair playlist. So otherwise, there you go. We out.